I've been talking to people in the political world of what is the biggest business story in the United States right now, really maybe biggest business story in the world. This saga about Warner Brothers, Netflix, Paramount, it is a big business story, and we'll talk to Joe Flynn about it, but it's a huge political story. And what I've been trying to do is break down what are the ways that this is a major political story. It involves, no question, political power. It involves our culture, our news coverage, and our politics, our elections. The stakes are massive. And in politics, as in life, whoever tells the story, whoever controls the means of storytelling, has a huge advantage. So who's going to control America's entertainment, America's news, America's platforms for distribution? Who is going to have the edge in gaining the public's attention? The players here, the institutional players and the individual business leaders, and then the president, a political leader, everybody is at the table here. Everybody knows what the stakes are politically, along with, again, the business story. At Warner Brothers, you've got David Zaslav. He's a longtime executive. He was at Discovery. He runs this whole thing. And he was planning to divide Warner Brothers Discovery into two companies. He was going to put kind of the Hollywood and the movie entities in one company, and then the linear cable networks like CNN and others in a separate company. That was disrupted because the suitors came calling. And the final two bidders were Netflix, where Ted Sarandos is one of the leaders in Netflix. And he convinced the board at Warner Brothers, go with him. Now we've got David Ellison of Paramount, who has been super aggressive in buying this company. He wants the whole company. Netflix wants just the movie parts, the sexy streamers. Ellison wants the whole thing. And he wants to combine the company he just bought, Paramount, with the assets of all of Warner Brothers Discovery. He's backed by Jared Kushner and by foreign money, Middle East investors, to help him try to make this deal. Then, of course, there's the president. And then every politician who's at all interested in American culture, American business, American monopoly power or concentration of power, that's close to every politician, from Elizabeth Warren on the left to lots of people on the right. They are all focused on this as a political matter because we're in a moment where somebody's going to consolidate power. It's either going to be Paramount or it's going to be Netflix. And that consolidation is going to cause antitrust concerns. Is the consolidation too much? For Netflix, the consolidation is on the streaming business. For Paramount, it's about the studio business. It's also about the news business, combining CNN and CBS. That antitrust storm is going to exist in the United States. It's also going to exist in Europe. Washington's immediate reaction to the deal, and again, the deal on the table is for Netflix to combine with Time Warner, that's a mega entity. That's massive. And is triggered really bipartisan concern that it's too big. And you've seen progressives already worrying. Elizabeth Warren is just one of many progressives saying it's too much concentration of power. When you concentrate that much power in any business, whether it's aerospace or making tractors, it's going to hurt the consumer. It's going to raise prices and limit choice. Conservatives are more divided. I think most progressives are against the combination of Netflix with Warner Brothers. Conservatives are more divided, right? You've got some who are skeptical, like liberals are, of big media, of consolidating power, whether it's news or entertainment or distribution in one place. But then you also have this pro-business wing of the party that says, hey, this is private markets working their way out. Consolidation produces economies of scale. It can produce more efficiencies, and America can still be the leader in these businesses and entertainment and news and information with the consolidation. And then you've got this foreign investment issue, which hasn't really come up all that much yet. But the politics of this, I think, are almost certain. If the shareholders start to lean towards the Paramount offer, I think the question of Jared Kushner's involvement as an investor and some of this Middle East money, I think will become an issue. The president is front and center. He loves big stories. He loves business stories, but he loves being at the center of things. And he's already acknowledged that he's paying attention here. At the Kennedy Center Honors over the weekend, he was asked about this, and the president made it clear he's focused on this. This is S1, please.
What about Netflix and Warner Brothers?
Well, that's got to go through a process, and we'll see what happens. Netflix is a great company. They've done a phenomenal job. Ted is a fantastic man. I have a lot of respect for him, but it's a lot of market share. So we'll have to see what happens.
Now, people were interested in the president saying that because he said Ted, the guy who runs Netflix, is a good guy. He praised him. It was thought that the president would clearly favor the Paramount offer because he's very good friends with Larry Ellison, whose son, David Ellison, is running Paramount and has been very aggressive in trying to make the deal. Now the president's saying, yeah, maybe these aren't friends of mine. Here's the president saying he's not particularly close to anybody on this. S3.
Paramount bid for Warner Brothers. That came
I don't
this
know enough
morning.
about it.
You spoke about Netflix last night, saying you have concerns about them.
I know the companies very well. I know what they're doing, but I have to see what percentage of market they have. We have to see the Netflix percentage of market, Paramount, the percentage of market. I mean, none of them are particularly great friends of mine. You know, I want to do what's right. It's so very important to do what's right.
So very important to do what's right. Now, I take the president at his word. He wants to do it right, but he is friends with the Ellisons, and it sounds like he's become pretty good friends with Sarandis. So this role of the president and of the Trump administration is going to be a huge deal in figuring out how this is going to work. He says he wants to do what's right. Both of these companies will have regulatory issues. Both will have questions, and in these antitrust cases, and again, this is where the politics comes into it. There's numbers, there's metrics. You know, what percent of streaming do you have? And then is it make sense to just look at for-profit streaming, or that should be compared to YouTube, right? There's all sorts of ways to slice and dice the data. But then there's this more tactile sense. Then there's just more thing of like, which makes more sense, right? And then that's for the government. For the board of Warner Brothers and for the shareholders, the question is, which offer is better, right? That's the political story that the shareholders have to worry about. But then they're going to influence the shareholders by making different arguments. You know, what are the short-term risks? What are the long-term risks? Skydance is behind, right? Paramount is behind because the board currently of Time Warner, of Warner Brothers, they want the Netflix offer. So what is Ellison trying to do? Ellison is trying to argue that there's all sorts of risks to letting Netflix get the thing. And these arguments are business arguments, but they've got political overtones, right? So one of the political overtones is, are movie theaters going to still exist? Now, the movie business, theatrical releases, going to the cinema, the bijou, is not the business it once was. Is it going to still even exist? What Ellison is arguing is the movie business will die for sure, because if Netflix buys Warner Brothers, they'll just put everything on streaming. Okay, so here's Ellison talking about the so-called death of the theatrical release. This is S4, please.
And we think that is bad. Again, it's bad for the consumer. It's bad for the creative community. This deal, if it is allowed to move forward, will actually be the death of the theatrical movie business in Hollywood. We're sitting here today trying to save it.
Understood.
Now, that's a great political argument, right? There's a lot of populist appeal to the notion of not everybody wants to pay $10 or whatever it is, what plan they have for Netflix. There should be movie theaters. Here's another thing Ellison is arguing, that the government scrutiny of the deal on the table between Netflix and Warner needs to be really strict, needs to be really disciplined and thoughtful. Here's Ellison again on CNBC. This is S5, please.
Why not just let the process run out and sit around and wait if you're really so confident that Netflix can't get any trust?
So I think if you look at basically how long it'll take them to go through antitrust and the $5.8 billion break fee.
Reverse break fee.
Yeah. But basically, if you think about that, if this takes 2 years, and I think, and you've seen reports on this, that this has basically been a defensive move by Netflix. And if they actually slow down our scale for the next 2 years, that's a win for them. That by nature is anti-competitive.
Right.
So one big piece of the political story is government scrutiny of whichever deal gets done. Now, we'll have a couple weeks now where we'll play out and we'll see whether the shareholders cause the Warner Brothers board and CEO to flip and say, well, no, the Ellison offer is better. But whichever deal gets done in the next couple weeks and is final, then we're going to see a long period of lawsuits and scrutiny from the Trump administration. And the suspicion is that if the scrutiny is on the Netflix deal, it may be very tough scrutiny because of the Ellison friendship with the president and because of Jared Kushner's involvement in the Ellison bid. It's going to be the Justice Department's going to scrutinize it, the FTC. There's been skepticism, and the president's already talked about this privately, according to many news organizations. Netflix is already really powerful and big. Should they really be allowed to do this? This question about scrutiny is going to go on for some time, and it could be that one side wins, and then the regulators say no, and then we'll see. That could be months, certainly be months, could be years down the road. Will the loser come back and say, "Well, we still want to buy the company"? We'll see. But that question of where's the president on this, which side wins, and then which side gets the scrutiny, and how does that go? That's massive. All right, so if you're using a normal phone, you're going to see those creepy ads that pop up all the time. They tell the people out there exactly where you've been, what you've bought, even who you've been talking to. And you probably, when you see that happening, because you see signs of it on the phone, you probably ask yourself, is my phone monitoring me? Well, the truth is your smartphone is constantly collecting and leaking data, all without your knowledge and without your consent. Every day, it's building over and over a more detailed profile of your whole life, your location, your habits, your interests, even the people you're communicating with. And all that information gets funneled into what is an invisible marketplace where it's tracked and analyzed and sold to the highest bidder. It's annoying, of course, but it's also very invasive, and it's nonstop. You're on your phone nonstop. The data is being collected nonstop. But now there's a solution. The Up Phone by Unplugged is totally different. It's designed from the ground up to protect your privacy. There are no hidden trackers. There's no data mining. Just a secure and streamlined smartphone experience that puts you back in control. I love it. When I use it, I feel empowered. I feel like I'm actually getting to do stuff without the trade-off of losing everything in my privacy. That's if you're texting, if you're browsing, whatever apps you're using. The Up Phone ensures that your personal information stays personal. It's the phone for people who are done being watched all the time. If you're ready to take back your digital privacy, this is what you need. Visit unplug.com/Mark. You'll get 25% off a phone case with the purchase of a phone. Learn more and order your Up Phone today. That's unplug.com/Mark, because your life, it should be yours, not theirs.